So I'm out here with in my barn, white barn with the green roof, and kind of looking over some of my hay equipment. We're getting close to cutting hay again, and so I've been out here knocking around some today. But I wanted to kind of share some thoughts of mine in regards to starting a hay farm and the business plan that you're going to put together. I'm climbing up on a Farmall 350 1958 if you're new to the channel. It's got the optional spider webs. Let me get that crap out of here. So when you start a farm, any farm, or any business really, and this is applicable to, this video is really applicable to any farm or business. But one of the things you need to have an idea is, what is the goal? What is the vision? What is the vision that you're setting forth to do, on your farm? And one of the analogies that I use is, I think about a tree. If you went to a nursery to buy a tree to plant, at your house or in your orchard, you wouldn't just walk in and grab whatever, the first thing that you came across. You're probably going to have an idea. Maybe you want an apple tree or a peach tree, something like that. Maybe a maple tree. And that's kind of the way it is with farming. When you embark on starting a farm, you kind of need to have an idea of what you're going to farm. And that may sound silly. It may sound obvious. Sometimes we don't see the forest for the trees. But I think a lot of people jump into farming and they have no idea what they're going to do. They start buying equipment. They kind of got an idea they're going to do this or that, but they're really not focused. And just like going to the store and buying a tree, you're not going to buy a tree that's a hybrid between an oak, cherry, maple, apple tree, chestnut tree. They're one or the other. And when you farm, you're probably going to be doing one thing, maybe two, and that's about it. So you need to have an idea of what you're doing. In our case, we wanted to farm hay. We'd gotten rid of the cattle and the pigs and the chickens a long time ago, and we felt that instead of running a bush hog across the land to keep it down, it would be better just to make hay and sell it. And that's our mission on this farm now. That's our vision and what we do. So once you've established what you're going to do with your farm, with your farming activities, then you need to plot a path and a path forward. And to do that, you really need to sit down and work up a business plan. And this can be just something that's it's brief. It might be an outline. It's a living document. It's going to change over the days and weeks and months and years as you go forward. And for example, when we first started, I really thought we were going to be making round bales all the way. And then I decided that square bales required minimal tractors, minimal investment in tractors as far as horsepower goes. And obviously, I don't need a front end loader to pick up a square bale of hay. So, and really the money is in square bales, not round bales. And so we kind of formulated a business plan on how we were going to do that. And then the fallout from that was part of the business plan is what are we going to start out with? Are we going to go out and buy all new equipment, or are we going to have every piece? It took a while to get a tedder We started out with a New Holland 68 square baler, Model 50 Massey Ferguson, which we had on this farm for a long time, and we just kind of took it. Recapitalizing this farm is what I had to do, and but the business plan kind of laid out that path forward, including the crop that we were going to raise. So even in hay, sometimes it's mixed grass, sometimes there's alfalfa, sometimes there's straight orchard grass, and so on and so forth. And your business plan kind of lays out that picture of what you want to do. And you can put goals in there on your business plan on what you'd like to do, and it can be all encompassing. So for example, this field you see out here that we've had cleared off, obviously one of my goals is to put that into hay production. Is it going to happen right away? No, but it's on the roadmap that is our business plan to bring this field online as a really nice hay field. And so in your business plan, you're going to have tick marks of goals that you would like to do, and the business plan can be multi-year, and again, it's a living document. So as you go forward, you might take one step forward and 2 steps back, and sometimes the vice versa. But you need to have a written business plan that you can stick to in order to bring your farming forward, from buying equipment to building buildings to what kind of crop you're going to raise, in our case, what kind of hay you're going to raise, and so on and so forth. And so business plan is really essential. Know what you're doing, and then know how you're going to accomplish that goal. The next thing, so we're a for-profit farm. We file a Schedule F tax form. I'm not interested in hobby farming. I guess it's okay, but I feel like there's a lot of investment in a farm, and there's a lot of sweat and labor and that kind of thing. And I just don't see the merit of breaking even or taking a loss. Why go to all that trouble if you're not gonna make any money? And but if you do hobby farm and that's your passion and you lose money, that's none of my business. But even if I were raising bees for honey, I would want to be able to at least recoup my expenses. If I was doing it all for myself, maybe it's not such a big deal. I mean, look how much money people spend on playing golf and, buying bass boats and going fishing. But on the farm, we want a return on the investment. So as you start getting into monetary activities, you want to try to maintain some really good records of your financial activities. So you want to know how much you're spending. You want to know how much revenue is coming in. And obviously during startup, you're probably going to have, losses, even substantial losses if you're startup. We had a little advantage here. This is fifth generation for my kids, fourth generation for me. So we already had the land. I bought some land, but to go with it. But knowing where your money's at and where you stand in regards to profit and loss will give you a good vision of where to spend your money. And it really brings into focus, do I buy a $100,000 tractor, or do I buy, a $5,000 or $10,000 tractor that could, for all intent and purposes, could do everything I need on this particular farm. One thing you want to do is you want to learn as much as you can. You want to get on the internet. You want to Google. You want to talk to farmers that you want to talk to farmers that actually know what they're doing. Some farmers They've been farming for 30 years. Really, they've farmed 30 times. And sometimes doing it the way we've always done it is a good idea, and sometimes it's a really bad idea. But you want to consult as much reading material as you can. You want to engage farmers that are truly successful in what they're doing, and you want to reach out to your agricultural extension agents, and you know, we have Virginia Tech. They're an enormous resource on haying. University of Kentucky and Penn State have a lot of info that I read about. I tend to study this stuff like an exam, and the more you can become an expert in whatever you're going to farm, the better you're going to be at it. And when a challenge comes, you'll have a pretty good idea ahead of time how to deal with it. So knowledge is the next thing I would say to go after. You know, in your startup farm, the word farm is a 4-letter word, and farm equals work, and that's another 4-letter word. But if you're going to farm, it is inescapable that you're going to have to put in a lot of work. And sometimes it can be backbreaking, and sweat is the norm many times, and breakdown and frustrations. But it just kind of goes along for the ride. And but in the end, if you stick with it, you know, you'll attain your goal of making a harvest. In our case, hay in the barn. And I've said this on other videos. You know, when I was growing up, I never threw a touchdown pass. I never hit a home run to win a ball game. But when you have old equipment like this Farmall and some of our other tractors and equipment, and when you manage that stuff in such a way that you wind up with the hay off the field and in the barn, it's a great feeling that I really can't put in words other than to say a game-winning home run must feel similar. And the thing about it is, all the cuts and scrapes and bumps and bruises and disappointments that you face as a farmer, in many ways they're wiped away when the harvest is complete and your crop is in the barn. So be prepared for a lot of work, and that's okay. One thing that kind of goes without saying is you want to maintain your equipment to the extent you can. Now, you can go crazy buying new equipment and spend all kinds of money and you can never recover it. You can do the same with equipment. And sometimes, you know, when you look at farms, and if you watch any videos on the internet of a lot of older farms, smaller farms, they're using used equipment. They've got it band-aided together, and they limp through a season. But sometimes it's necessary to do that, and because there's no limit to how much money you can spend on anything. So you can go out and buy a $100,000 tractor, and you can buy a fleet of old junk, and then you can send them off and have them refurbed to be, you know, like new. But all of that eats into your profit. So it's not a bad thing to have older equipment, you know, that you can wrench on a little bit and not have so much money tied up in it, and you know, your bottom line, your leftover money, that your profit is bigger. So just kind of keep that in mind as you start your farm. Now I will say this, there are times when you need a tractor to start every time and no flat tires, and that may involve a newer tractor. And I know on our farm we have this John Deere 5055 5D, and we got this John Deere 348 baler over here. If we can't get a tractor in a field with hay, and it's very time sensitive, and if we can't tie a bale, we've got nothing. So we chose to invest and a little bit nicer equipment on that front. But we didn't go out and buy, $100,000 tractors to do it, and crazy equipment. So you need to strike a balance, but maintain your equipment, and be judicious in how you buy it. And it's okay in my book to have more than one tractor. It's cheap insurance. If one goes down, you probably got another one that can jump in and fill the gap. So the last thing is, I would say, for your farm is be prepared to make adjustments. So you kind of, you say, well, I'm going to be a row crop farmer, or I'm going to be a small dairy, or I'm going to be a hay farmer like I've got, like we do here. But even within that, be prepared to make adjustments. So with our haying, we have made multiple adjustments over the years. We kind of started out making pretty trashy hay, and then we kind of swerved into some really nice Timothy and top shelf hay. I don't know that anybody anywhere had any hay any better than ours. And then over time, we've kind of gone back to a mixed grass hay, but we're trying to keep it clean, not weedy stuff like you see out there. And so that has worked out pretty good for us. One of these days, if I ever retire, we'll probably go back into Timothy. It's easy to make crap hay. You can't fail when it comes to making crappy hay. But when you start trying to make top quality hay, the odds are stacked against you, because you have no control of the weather. In many ways, you have no control of equipment breakdowns. And if you can't get on the field and get the hay off in a timely manner, you may have trashy hay that you spend all this money trying to get your fields in shape, and at the end of the day, you got to sell it for the same price if you just grew a mixed grass or whatever grows. And then on the other end of that, there's a limit to how much your customers are going to pay for a square bale of hay, or even a round bale. So you just got to work the numbers and decide, what kind of hay you're going to plant, or what kind of variety, corn or soybeans or whatever else you do that yields the best return on your investment. And even when I say we're going to probably swerve heavily into Timothy, I'll do a payback analysis on that. And if it looks like it takes too much time and too much revenue and too much wear and tear on the tractors to get out on these fields and maintain them, as opposed to just a clean mixed grass hay that might sell for a lower price, but at the end of the day yield higher profits. It's a business. Okay, it's not. I'm not going out and buying the nicest set of golf clubs I can buy just because it's fun. It is a business decision, and you need to keep that in mind as you go along. But you have to adjust. So you might say, well, my old baler, it just continues to let me down, and I'm losing money because I can't get a bale. I can't tie a bale, and I need to upgrade my baler. And that upgrade might be a new baler, but it might be something that's somewhere between an old baler and something that's brand new. And maybe a little wrenching will get you in the field reliably. But you need to be able to make adjustments like that, and adjust the crops, and look at your technique. When you cut hay, when's the best time to cut hay? When's the best time to knock it off for the year? When's the best time to reseed? Do you even need to reseed? Is it necessary to spray herbicides as often as you might think? Or do you need to put down herbicides even more because, you've got weed pressure? Fertilizing, with fertilizer prices going through the roof, you spend a pile of money on fertilizer. Generally, it pays to fertilize, but the adjustment there might be like in my case. My kids are up and on their own 2 feet and doing their own thing, and sometimes they're around to help, but I have to go in this prepared to do it all by myself, and so it's for me, it's okay to have a lower yield, and this farm, as I've mentioned probably in other videos, this farm, everything you see on this farm, land, buildings, everything is bought and paid for. We are a debt-free farm. I could, if I make $100 with no expenses, we're profitable. And but you gotta make an adjustment. And in my case, living with a lower yield in order to be able to manage the hay business has been something that's been important for me, because why go to the trouble and put the wear and tear on your tractors if you can't get the hay in the barn and it just gets ruined? So trying to make it manageable is one of the adjustments we've made. And as I mentioned, the hay, changing hay varieties, and we're constantly changing things and making adjustments, and that's essential to your farm success. And I guess there's one more thing, try to enjoy what you're doing. Don't learn to hate, your job, your farm job. As I said, it can be tedious and hard and difficult, and a lot of knuckle busting and sweat. But the reward is really great when it all clicks and it all works. And over the years, we've been doing this, and I look back and I look at the pictures and the videos that we've made, and I just see such I don't know quite the word to use it, but we've just been really successful, in our own way, and it's very satisfying to look back. I don't know that farming for me is necessarily fun, even riding around on a tractor. I don't know. Maybe if I had more time, maybe when I retire one of these days, that might be nice. But I'm really not like a teenager or a kid like I once was, where it was just fun to get on a tractor and knock around. When I get on a tractor, it's to work, and but I think once I retire and the pressure of the day job and the time consumed by it goes away, and again, I'm not getting ready to retire, but I've got less to go than where I've been, I will say that. But I could see where farming would be a lot more fun. But the primary purpose is not recreation. If you're farming for profit, the primary purpose is to get a return on your investment and your labor. So I'll kind of conclude the video here. I probably droned on a lot longer, and I've sat in one spot here on top of my 1958 Farmall 350. And I hope I've given you something some info that you can use. We'll have more starting a hay farm videos, and I've got a playlist with videos on the same subject. Check them out. Again, subscribe, comment, hit the like button, share the videos. That's always helpful to us. And we'll be into, I'm hoping, some second cutting here pretty soon. Come back and there'll be more videos.